Hey, hi, hello there, and welcome to an episode of An Anthropologist Addresses HAES and Fat Acceptance. I don't know why I said it like that, but there you have it. So, I have said a lot of times about HAES and fat acceptance, HAES being health at every size, that the stuff they say is kind of racist. And I say that because it is. And I happen to have this video come across my, I guess they're calling it For You now, because TikTok. Anyway, came across my recommendations, and this is Alana Melissa, and this video is called I'm Calling It Now, HAES/Fat Acceptance is Racist. This video is 2 years old, and she says, in today's video essay, I'm going to discuss how HAES, health at every size, and the fat acceptance movement is actually racist. Please enjoy the video. I'll possibly have more videos in the near future debunking fat acceptance logic. And then she lists several sources. I guess I could scroll down in her video. This video is 31 minutes long, and because it's so long and I can talk, she'll be sped up, but I don't think we're going to do the entire video. She also has another video that I'm going to go over, which is why I refuse to market myself as a plus-size influencer. So that'll be very interesting to me as well. Now, we've heard people like Michelle McDaniels talk about how fat acceptance and HAES try to align themselves with the Black plight. Again, with racism, you know, if you're against fat people, then you're racist. How exactly? And they also like to do the same thing with ableism. Like, if you don't like obese people, then you're ableist. Okay. Neither argument makes sense. Because with the the thing about race, obesity and being fat is not an inherent trait. It is something that you can change about yourself. Maybe it's super difficult. Maybe you have to go have surgery, but it can happen. Something like race is, despite what TikTok is trying to do recently, from my understanding, race is not something, it's an inherent trait. It's not something you can change. You can try, you can masquerade, but in the end, the lived experience outweighs any kind of presentation. All right. And I started watching this so anyway, I watched this a while ago, and I wanted to kind of go over some of the arguments that she makes, because she's not wrong. She's not wrong at all. And I think it has a little bit more of an impact coming from a person of color calling out HAES and fat acceptance for being racist than it does for me, being who I am, sitting here calling out fat white women for being racist themselves. I mean, I'm still going to do it. But it's kind of like calling my own folks out because they're being dumbasses. But when Michelle McDaniels addresses this stuff, it's interesting to me because Michelle McDaniels, I think it's always impactful when Michelle McDaniels does it, because she's always very aware of when she's literally playing the race card. Like, she plays it up and she knows what she's doing, and she directly tells you what she's doing. Like, she knows it. She's doing it on purpose, and she wants you to be aware that she's doing it. But with Michelle, she's very fit. She's very healthy. She advocates for health. She advocates for a healthy lifestyle. She tells you that, being overweight and that kind of a thing, it's a lifestyle choice. You can change it if you want to, and that she doesn't let fat acceptance and HAES get away with claiming that it's inherent to a particular race to be obese. So I'm not being mean to Alana Melissa, because she, again, does make a video addressing the plus size thing, but she is clearly plus sized, So having someone like her addressing HAES and fat acceptance, I think also carries a little bit more weight, but only by that much, than Michelle McDaniels does, only because Alana Melissa is the overweight black woman that HAES and fat acceptance claims they're advocating for. And here is this person who actually fits the description of what HAES and fat acceptance wants you to believe is their goal, and she's rejecting them. So I find that to be a bit more powerful, but only a little bit. Is my point. I also think the more voices of people of color that we hear rejecting HAES and fat acceptance on racial grounds, I think the less powerful this concept of disliking fatness is inherently racist, because it's not. It's just not. It's not even that well, it is inherent. They claim it's inherently racist, but it's inherently racist because to be thin is white, which is also just incredibly racist. And it's not racist against white people. It's racist against every other person on the planet who isn't white. Because the argument that HAES and fat acceptance makes is that every other racial category, every other ethnicity on the planet is meant to be obese. And only white people are supposed to be thin. I think the majority of the Eastern world would have issues with that. Like, all of them. I just, and a lot of the tribes in a lot of Africa, a lot of the continent of Africa probably has issues with that. I want to get into her video. I want to go through the introduction, and then we'll probably skip a few things, not because I don't think they're important, just because I think other things are they're things I want to address more than others. Again, this is a 30-minute video. I will have it linked in the description, so if you want to go watch the whole thing, I highly recommend that you do. Her resources will be in her description, so if you want to go and check her stuff out, please feel free. I do admit this is a 2-year-old video, but I don't think it's any less impactful. And also, I checked her recent videos, and she's no less critical of fat acceptance and HAES now as she was 2 years ago. So buttons, let's get started.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel.
Hi.
So it's been a while since I have filmed. You guys have probably seen me about a week or two ago with my homelessness reform video, but that video was pre-recorded, so it's actually been a little over a month since I've sat down in front of a camera. So I thought I would get all dolled up for you guys. I'm trying to give you guys like old Hollywood starlet glamour, kind of like 1960s era with the colors and the stripes. You see me.
It's working for me.
But there is a lot to talk about today, and it is a heavier topic, not as heavy as homelessness, but it's a heavy topic on like more of a social level. So if you read the title, then you know exactly why you're here. You know exactly why you clicked. I do believe that HAES/fat acceptance, the whole movement in general, is racist. And I'm going to spend the time that I have here explaining myself and just sort of explaining why I feel like it's built against black people. And there's a lot to talk about when it comes to that. There's a lot of areas that I'm going to be hitting. So I will have this video in chapters, and I will be leaving links and screenshots to my findings. A lot of it does involve social media because I recently discovered these communities via Reddit and places like Instagram and Tumblr and stuff like that. Now, I did allude to...
Was TikTok not that big yet 2 years ago? Wow. I feel like it was. But yeah, interesting.
Me believing that HAES is racist in a previous video that I did, and it's this video right here where I describe why I don't identify myself as a plus size blogger. Instead, I'm just a...
No, I'm doing them backwards. Sorry. We're gonna keep going though.
Blogger that just so happens to be plus size. And since I've made that video, I have discovered a lot more that has helped to solidify how I feel about this movement. At that time that I made that video, which is I believe about a half a year ago or maybe a year ago, I'm not sure, but when I made that video, I had a hunch that the movement was racist, and the more I looked into it, the more I found different people and I found different supporters of this movement, the more I do believe that it is covert racism. Cool. So for those of you who are just now discovering me and my channel, hello, my name is Alana Melissa.
Hi. Sorry, I have to break it up somehow, and I sadly have not sadly, I don't have anything to add. And I guess I needed to stop and tell you that, but I don't want her to feel like an idiot doing this, but I have to break it up because, reactions and YouTube.
Post lifestyle videos here on YouTube, and you can also find me on Instagram, also at Alana Melissa. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to follow my Instagram. It's a pretty fun time. We talk about a lot of shit here. So we're gonna dive right into it.
Okay, we're gonna jump to her thesis. I like how she broke this up, by the way. I like how she broke this up. So I wanted her to introduce herself. I'm sorry if I had to awkwardly break that up. I probably could have done that better, but I wasn't thinking. But I want to listen to her thesis here, and then we will start jumping around within the video. So again, I will have this linked in the video description. So please check that out. You don't have to follow her, but I'm not going to tell you not to either. I mean, I followed her, so. Yes.
HAES is racist because it provides Black and brown communities a false sense of security on a subject that is detrimental to their survival and their livelihood. It ignores the various forms of institutionalized racism, such as redlining, food deserts, corporate glass ceilings, urban marketing, and urban planning. I will be targeting each of these notes.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Yes. I cannot wait. These were always my favorite kind of papers to go to in conferences where they just like calling out social movements, like covertly.
In the midst of all of these problems, HAES tries to get people to believe that they are naturally bigger and not a product of the combination of institutionalized racism and personal neglect. Instead of advocating for healthier lifestyles and combating the previously mentioned issues, HAES supports blatant gluttony, lack of physical fitness, and irrational behavior and logic.
Amen. Seriously, she has yet to say something that I haven't railed against. I want to listen to her part on redlining. I don't think a lot of people know what redlining is, and for those people who do know what redlining is, a lot of people don't realize that it continues to this day, even though I don't really know if they're not blatant about it anymore. I guess we'll put it that way. But I'll let her explain redlining when we get to it. I don't want to say I'm impressed she brought it up, but I am surprised, I guess, but not in a bad way. I'm pleasantly surprised that she's bringing it up, is what I'm trying to say.
So that is my thesis. That's my general thesis on this topic, and that is how I feel put out in the most eloquent, educational way that I can manage to write it out. Now, I'm going to be targeting all the points that I made in that thesis. I'm going to be breaking things down. I'm going to be sharing government links and stuff like that. Because I worked really hard on this, and I worked really hard to compile the research for what I have to present today. If you look on a variety of...
Cool, because I am here for it. So, I'm going to skip over numbers because she's going to go over obesity demographics and how they break down within ethnicity and racial groups. So do please go watch that. But I want to get to the fat logic here because that's the meat of this. I'm not saying the demographics aren't important. I'm just saying for me, for this video, the fat logic is the meat of what I wanted to get to here. And I'm really impressed with this channel. I love this channel. I really need to step up my game.
When it comes to our weight and when it comes to just being a bigger person in general, because I'm speaking from experience, y'all can see me.
Amen.
This is not an issue of death. It's not an issue of the fact that we're going to die. Everyone is going to die. If there's one guarantee that we have in life, it's that we're all going to die. But this is an issue of premature death
and taxes. Oh yeah. She has up on the screen, quote, "In this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes," by the great saint Benjamin Franklin. I live in Philly. We literally have statues to the man. And in there, I'll have to get a picture of it, but we have a God statue of Benjamin Franklin.
The quality of life. What is the point? If you can prevent, in my opinion, if you can prevent being immobile, if you can prevent having to depend on a bunch of people around you, what is the point of getting to that point? What is the whole... It doesn't make sense to me. And I am a very pragmatic person, and it took me years to realize that pragmatism extends past your logic and it should extend into what you do in your day. But it just doesn't seem efficient to me. Doing whatever you want without regard and getting to a point where your body literally cannot move itself without someone else's help, someone who's a lot more physically fit, it just seems like it's made to hurt. It's misinformation, and it's almost on purpose, in my opinion. I am not saying.
Interestingly, again, this video is 2 years old. Interestingly, it has come out recently through the grapevines that a lot of health influencers, especially fat acceptance and HAES influencers, have been paid by large companies like Coca-Cola and other sugar-laden companies, if not sugar itself, to basically push that sugary foods and cola and other junk food is actually good for you and should not be viewed in a negative light. And this is something that's been going on for years. So when she says it almost feels calculated, it almost feels on purpose, it is. We're finding out. And it's not a conspiracy. It is. So interesting. She saw through the bullshit early.
That you can't be fat and active, you know. And listen, you can be 400 pounds and you can somehow make it to live past 70 years. But again, what's the point if you're fully dependent on other people? And
I mean, statistically, that there's probably somebody who did that, but the reality of the situation is those numbers just don't tend to mix. I don't know. I one time I did a search. It was just a cursory search, but I looked to see who the oldest obese person was, how long they lived to, and I think the oldest I saw was 62, which is still pretty young in my book. So I'm sure maybe there's somebody who's getting close to 70 just statistically, but at that point you're looking at survivor bias. And what survivor bias is you or one individual survived. It's kind of like success bias. So since you see and know about this one person, it skews the mind into thinking that this is more common than it actually is, when the reality of the situation is there's probably hundreds of people who are obese who don't make it to 70. Statistically, the majority of people who are that fat are not typically going to make it to 70, past 60 to 70, onwards. All right. There's literally no one in the notes that I saw, in the stats that I saw, that was obese and over 100 or near 100. So if you want to live as long as humanly possible, this ain't the way to do it.
You know, it's not like it's a disability, right? It's not like it's like you lost a leg, or it's not like.
How ableist of you, Alana Melissa. Sorry.
You were born that way. We can't change disabilities. That's why they're called disabilities. But the reason why a lot of people are hesitant to classify overweightness and obese as a disability is because you can change it.
Right.
Over time, you can change that.
Right.
And the idea that we can't, the idea that dieting will make us gain more weight so that we should just give up, the things that I've seen on Reddit, the idea, these false narratives that being healthy is going to be bad for us in the long run, for our precious mental health, I think it's harmful. I think it's harmful. I think that there are a lot of half-truths when it comes to HAES and fat acceptance and fat activism. Side note, don't like that you guys call yourselves fat activists, because clearly none of you guys are active. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I mean,
yeah. She's like, I'm calling it like it is. She's not the first person I've seen attack fat activism for its lack of activism. I'm not going to go after the activity level. I think it was Sam at Every Size. It was either Sam at Every Size or crap, I don't watch her anymore. But there was somebody else who called out fat acceptance for not actually being an activist. They're not advocating. They're not putting themselves out there. Though, in defense of that, there is that weirdo law that just got passed in New York, I want to say earlier or middle of the year, where you can no longer discriminate against someone because of their size in New York. basically all that's going to do is make it more difficult for small businesses, and assuming it even gets enforced. But anyway,
I make horrible jokes. I had to say it. But anyways, I I don't like the half truths that are said, right? So the biggest half truth in the fat activist movement is that 95% of diets don't work and that people regain the weight or gain more than they lost originally. And
excuse me.
this is a large half truth. And this is something that is very, very dangerous. And it irks me every time I hear it. And the biggest problem that I have with this very false narrative, is that people don't even do their own research anymore. I hate that people just regurgitate this one phrase, this one 95% of diets don't work. If you go into Reddit and you type in fat acceptance or r/fat logic, you will see that phrase over and over and over again. It's almost,
Dude, Fat Logic is something else. They're something else. Not in a bad way. It's just some of the stuff that they post in there, you're just like, my brain hurt. My like it shuts you down for a minute because you're just like, what?
almost like it's a rehearsed phrase. As someone who's worked in a call center before, rehearsed phrases irk me. It's the reason why it's a half truth is because yes, diets don't work, right? Crash diets don't work. You see, you left out the word crash. Sustainable living
Doing TikTok.
and moderate exercise over time does work.
Right.
It does. Take it from someone who has tried multiple diets. I have told you guys what is and is not working for me in a recent video that I made right over here. I will leave it here. And what I've learned after studying myself and studying my lifestyle for the better part of this pandemic.
I might want to watch that just because she's got Khloe Ting in there. And I adore Khloe Ting. Clearly, I don't follow Khloe Ting's workouts, but I think she's fun.
Is that crash dieting just leads to nothing. You end up back at square one. And what has made the most sense for me, what's been the most pragmatic thing for me and the most cost effective thing for me, since we want to complain about the cost of healthy food, what's made the most sense for me is simply laying low, eating what I would normally eat, but decreasing the portions. And, I have more on that later. But, and swapping out certain things, telling yourself, maybe I don't need a sleeve of Oreos. Maybe I just need 2 or 3 Oreos, some water, and I need to go back to fucking bed.
Amen. Sometimes you just need to go back to bed. I have found the more tired I get, the more I crave actual sugar. I crave cookies and cake and candy. The more tired I am. So actually getting regular and plenty of sleep prevents me from getting those sweet cravings. I don't know if anybody else experiences that, but it sounds like she has the same thing.
Like things like that are a lot more helpful than telling someone that they need to go on keto or they need to shove a bunch of kale down their throats. That's unsustainable. I full on believe that keto and other crash diets and other, intensely restrictive diets, including veganism, is unsustainable. I think they're unnecessarily expensive, and I think it just makes more sense to eat a balanced diet.
I have any diet that is having you cut out entire food groups, like real food groups, not like sugar, is not going to really work in the long run, because there's a reason we eat from various food groups, if you will, because the spectrum of things that we eat gives us different nutrients that our bodies require. That's why I'm not a fan of veganism as a diet or an eating plan as well. I know there will be vegans who argue with me, and that's fine. But I'm also not a fan of these weird carnivore people right now, because I think they're just as weird. There's literally nothing evolutionarily or in any kind of study on diets that shows that we are either meant to be carnivores, consummate carnivores. We are not cats. Nor does it show that we should not be eating meat in any way, shape, or form. This has never been shown. Can a vegan diet improve your health? Short term, sure. Will a carnivore diet improve your health? I don't know. I just think it's gross, especially since they all seem to be eating like raw meat. Stop that. But I also think a diet that like completely cuts out carbs or completely cuts out like fruits and vegetables, I think those are just equally as not good for you as any other form of restricted diet. I say this a lot, We are omnivores. We have a set of teeth that allow us to eat pretty much anything we can get into our mouths. We have teeth for tearing, we have teeth for chomping, we have teeth for chewing, we have teeth for grinding. We're meant to eat a variety of foods from a variety of sources. All right. We are goats. We are literal goats. You could probably eat tinfoil. It's not going to be great for you. Please don't do it. But if you can chew it up and swallow it, your body's going to figure out something to do with it. If not, it's going to go the way of the toilet. So basically, crash diets, by now you should understand that a crash diet doesn't work, period. If it's a crash diet, it's not going to work. And any diet that restricts an entire food group from your diet is going to probably not be sustainable in the long term. And that goes both sides of the spectrum.
They don't tell you that when you go through these fat activist communities. They don't tell you to just eat a balanced diet.
No.
And move.
Right.
That's it. And the fact that it took me like 26, 25 years to learn that is crazy in and of itself. But thank God I learned it now instead of when I'm like 40.
She is so young. Also, she's right. The sooner you figure that one out, the happier you will be in the long run.
You know, thank God I learned it now when I'm still at a weight where I am mobile, where I'm at a weight where I can go to the gym, where I don't have to worry about not fitting on a roller coaster or not fitting on an airplane seat or breaking a chair. I don't have to look for special seating. I don't have to do all of that yet. It's such a half truth. Like the way that they spew this is dangerous. Now, to tie it back to the racism, a lot of fat activists will tell you that this movement was created for fat women of color. And I take a large issue with that. For one, leave black people, leave black women especially, out of your agendas. This is not just for HAES. This is for a lot of movements that I see online. Leave black people out of your agendas. I'm dead ass. Like, we just want to exist. We just want to.
It's the second time this week I have heard someone say dead ass that wasn't Australian. And I understand there's a huge conversation about it in my comment section because I brought it up in the Amberlynn video. But seriously, up until literally this week, I've never heard anyone use it outside of Australia. So, hey, I learned a new thing today. Will I start using dead ass? I don't understand how to use it, so probably not.
Exist without being tied to our race half the time.
Yeah.
But the fact that people, especially like overly liberal, middle class white people who just don't want to get up and exercise, would use black people for their movement. And I almost think this is worse than someone who was blatantly racist. I think that underhanded racism is worse than blatant racism. Like, I would rather you tell me to my face you don't like black people than you sit here and try to put me in the forefront of your movement, something that is only benefiting you. Because at the end of the day, right, these people that you see on Reddit and Tumblr and Instagram and stuff that have all these programs teaching you how to love yourself and how to basically ignore all of your health signs and all of your bodily signs, these people are profiting from your pain. They're profiting from your insecurities, and they're profiting from giving you a false sense of hope. And that is something that I cannot agree with, and I will not sit by and just let my black women be misled and led astray. Notice how the voices for this movement are mostly white and non-black women.
This is not the first time I've heard somebody say something like that. I guess my point is like, if in the back of your head somewhere, there's a little voice that says, maybe this is racist. Don't do it. Just stop now. Listen to the little voice.
People of color, my ass. When you say people of color, you just mean black people.
And then
you
there's
think
that.
that you're going to virtue signal by putting black people at the forefront of your movement. And when we are the ones who are impacted the most by obesity, yo, you must be out your fucking mind. You must be out of your mind. Like, it's irritating to see this. And I don't know where we got off saying that all of this is part of the medical industry and stuff like that, and they just want to get you, they just want to sell diet culture to you. Diet culture, you don't have to be in diet culture. Leave that shit alone. You don't have to join diet culture. Like,
she has up on the screen that says, for the record, I agree that the fitness industry can be predatory. They do sell, quote, magic solutions, end quote, to gullible people, but the inverse is also true. Promoting programs telling people to give up and be gluttonous is not only dangerous, but extremely predatory. Agreed.
Like I said before, eat a balanced fucking diet. eat a balanced diet.
Jeez.
So you're sitting here trying to defend your right to eat whatever the fuck you want. That's cool. Do that on your own time, okay? Be immobile and die on your own time.
She's mad.
Leave black people out of this. To say that it's made for fat women of color, like body positivity, makes no fucking sense to me. And this movement has gone way far left. This is giving me very much third wave feminism, and I want off this ride. I hate it. Like, I hate to see it. I really hate to see it.
Did something happen to third wave feminism? I've been out of the loop as far as feminism is concerned, but I have an argument that HAES and fat acceptance is inherently anti-feminist as well. So I apparently have some reason. Did something happen with third wave feminism? What wave are we in? What happened? Because this is the second time I've heard somebody come after third wave feminism in a negative way. Now, I'm used to people attacking feminism. That's fine. I'm used to that. But, like, what is specific to third wave feminism that I'm missing here? Feel free to educate me down below.
The fact that people like Tess Holliday and Virgie Tavlo and Reagan Chastain,
Tovar.
they sit online and they spew all of this false rhetoric. And motherfucking Lindo Bacon, like the goddamn leader of their movement, spew all of these half-truths, and they give false equivalencies. It irks me. Another big false equivalency is smoking, right? They'll say, oh, well, nobody has a problem with smoking, but we have a problem with that. I have a big problem with smoking. Okay, I don't want your smelly ass cigarette smoke in my face. I don't want it in my air. I actually don't allow smoking in my yard, and I have told people that they need to leave my yard if they smoke. I refuse to drop off coworkers that smoke because I don't want my car smelling like smoke. And that is my personal life choice. Just like if
That the city of Philadelphia dislikes smokers so much you're not supposed to smoke within 30 feet of any public building. Do people do it? Yes. Of course they do. But, yeah, the smoking comparison is ridiculous. Yes, both of them are inherently bad for you, but both of them are something you can stop doing. You can quit smoking. It's hard as hell. I've watched my mother struggle with it my entire life. Let me put it that way. I watched my dad struggle to quit smoking. And then my grandfather was just like, whoop, I'm done. And that was the end of that. But, I mean, stopping a junk food addiction is also very difficult. And that's why a lot of people aren't successful the first few times they try to lose weight, is because they are addicted to the junk food. They're addicted to the sugar. They're addicted to the junk food. So it really is a good comparison, but it's not a good comparison for the reasons that the fat acceptance movement thinks it is. So there's that. But yes, smoking does stink, and I don't like smoking, and I love living here because if people smoke, you rarely know it because they're not allowed to smoke in the majority of the city. So they smoke inside their houses, they smoke inside their cars, they smoke away from people. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't smokers here. I'm just saying, like, you'll be hard pressed to see somebody doing it. Or at least I have been.
it's your personal life choice to sit down and smoke cigarettes, and therefore I don't have to be around that. So if someone is telling you that you don't have to actually be fat, like you don't have to put up with this stuff, and we're not saying that you owe us skinniness, right? Like, I don't believe I owe the world skinniness. I don't even believe I owe myself skinniness. I owe myself health. I owe myself a high quality of life. If being thin comes with that, then that's fine, you know, but I owe myself the best chance that I have to go and live a quality life, and to tell people to give up, to tell people that diets don't work, to tell people that, you know, these half-truths and these false equivalents.
She keeps flashing Instagram posts. This is Instagram, isn't it? Yeah, these are Instagram posts. I'm not going to read them out loud. Wait, I'm not going to read them out loud. But again, this is just more reasons for you to go watch her video.
To tell people, oh, well, you can't change your shoe size, so you can't change your body weight. And to make up words like set points. You must be out of your mind. You must be. And then to put black women at the forefront of all of this,
she's mad.
You're racist. You are complicit in our destruction. It is racist.
Ouch.
Like I said before, to put a group of people that are the most impacted by something negatively, and to front as if the movement was made for them, to say this is for you. Shame on you. Like, literally shame on you. I'm going to talk to black people now. Hey guys, what's up?
I'm going to skip this part just because I'm not black. But please go watch this. All right, so I've jumped ahead to the challenging the fat acceptance, or the FAs. So let's do that. Sorry.
Opinion. I would like to see someone from HAES refute this. I would like to see you try your best. But at what point are you going to stop ignoring actual science? I don't understand how the doctors don't know anything about diet, but they know enough to give you procedures. Like
Right.
I'm just very confused. So you're telling me thousands of years of research and thousands of years of knowing the human body, and it's all wrong because you don't want to get up and move. I just can't accept it, and I can't idly sit by and let other black women especially fall prey to this. Now the reason why I don't talk about men a lot in this video is because unfortunately men have been locked out of the body positivity movement. um
I love the fact that this video is 2 years old and she is hitting every damn high note about fat acceptance and HAES. Men have been pushed out of there are a handful of active male HAES and FA people. Um, but for the most part, and you will literally hear on TikTok a lot of the FA girlies. Oh my God, I said it. Will say this movement is not for men, because I've heard them say it. So it good call there. The thousands of years of medical research. Yes, but no. You yes, but no. Um, however, however, we've been studying this for since maybe the 50s. Around the 50s is when we really started getting serious about this. Now, the quality of said studies has hopefully improved since the 50s, but the point is we've been studying this for a very long time now, and not just we as a country, but we as a world. Um, and the rate of obesity has accelerated significantly recently. Like I want to say since like I don't know, it's very recently. What's very recently? I'll look up numbers. I'm sorry. And so that has also increased the number of studies on obesity and health. So not only have we been studying this for a while now, but the number of studies and the types of studies has increased, which I think is why we can have Ozempic and Wegovy now. Do I think they're foolproof? I don't really know that much about them. I have some friends who have used it. I have some friends who are currently on it. They seem happy with their results. So there you have it.
or maybe it is fortunate for them because men tend to just do what they
Excuse me.
have to do most of the time, and if they don't, like, they kind of just take that, and they, you know, they are
Excuse me again.
responsible for their actions. Women, for some reason, the women in these movements have managed to blame everyone but them for their own weight. A lot of the logic, if you look at these fat logic posts, they don't make sense. If you look at these fat logic posts, you can tell that they go in circles about things that do
Yes.
not make sense.
Yes.
How is it that you have all of these body issues? I've seen so many complaints on Reddit about, oh, my ankle hurts, oh, my body hurts, but it can't be because of my weight. So everything else can affect you but your weight. That makes no sense.
Again, she put up two very wordy, I believe those were Reddit posts. I'm not going to read the whole things out. So please go watch the video because they're kind of proving her point. Also, you could just go follow our Fat Logic and have an afternoon. Go down that rabbit hole.
No sense. All of the half truths that are spread, we are damaging generations. On a final note, and this is not just about black people, this is about um, Americans in general. Childhood obesity is on a sharp rise,
USA.
and it's getting very
USA.
dangerous. It's something that I wasn't paying attention to for years now, but the more I take my nephews out and I play with them and I exercise alongside them in the park, the more I'm starting to see that the majority of children around me are either overweight or obese, and it is extremely alarming. When I was a kid, I was one of the only chubby kids. I've always been chubby since childhood.
Yep.
And I was one of the only chubby kids.
Yep.
To the point where my bullies used against. That's not the point. That's the point. Now, I'm probably seeing, I want to say about like 1 in every 3 children that I see in my local playground are either overweight or obese.
So for me, because I have to interject somewhere, because of where I live, I'm not gonna lie. The coasts, especially what coast am I on? The East Coast here. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. Um, they are thinner here than where I grew up, and I'm always shocked when I go home to where I was from, which is Indiana, and I go there and I see just my hometown. and the people in said hometown. Um, now I've lived in Virginia and I've lived here, so it's not just an observation of Pennsylvania. People here are thinner on average, and so the children I see, I don't substitute teach anymore. Um, but even when I was, and even when I was doing after school programs, because I did a lot of educational stuff when I lived in Virginia, there weren't many chubby children. There were some. I'm not going to claim that there weren't, but the majority of children were very thin. They were, I guess, a healthy weight. None of them were like, oh my God, someone needs to feed you. They were just thin. And that seems to be the average, at least in the areas where I have lived. I will admit I have lived in two very upper class neighborhoods, just upper class parts of the city, just randomly. It's not because I fall into that category. We just were able to find really good rent here, and I'm not giving it up. God damn it. Um, but when I go home, um, I'm a skinny mini. When I go home, I'm a teeny tiny person, and I'm not. I'm not a small person. Our perception of what thin or what a healthy weight looks like has been so skewed because of the increase of the average weight of an average person in the US. People, even in here, people will tell me, "Oh, you're not fat." Yes, I am. I promise you. I am medically obese. I on my little health tracker, it routinely tells me every time I log my weight, you're in the obese category. Thanks, tracker. I needed to be reminded today. But that's my point. People see me and they think that I am not fat because I wear a size 12 and I don't look as big as them. I'm not 300 pounds. I'm not fat. Okay? People are just fatter than me on average. Like the average size when I was a kid, or when I was a young adult, first stepping out into the world, was like a 10, an 8 or a 10. It was a pain in the ass to find things that fit me because I was rocking a 14 to a 16 at the time. And now I can shop off the rack with no issues. Okay? And it's not just because my size dropped down to a 12 and I can kind of wear a 10 sometimes. It's because the average size has increased to a 16. Okay? So, yeah, I mean, I think it depends on where you're located as to whether you're really seeing the childhood obesity problem because it's real. But I think if you're someplace like where I'm at, I think you can be kind of insulated from it. And so it may not seem as urgent to you. But again, this goes back to the concept of survivor bias and success bias. Um, you're only seeing like a snapshot of a group when statistically that group is on average fatter and more unhealthy than it was, God, 10 years ago, even.
Some of them are very obese. Actually, I've seen some of them wearing adult-sized clothing, and I'm talking about 8 and 9 year olds, 6 and 7 year olds. Um, way past 100 pounds, way past 150, and it's very alarming.
Yeah,
And I think
it
we,
is alarming.
black, white, everyone included, we need to give our children a fighting chance.
Mm-hmm.
We do. If you're watching this, based on the demographics of my video, you are most likely a millennial or a Generation X. If you're anything outside, welcome. But we need to give our children a fighting chance at survival. There are reports that say that we may be the first generation that dies before our parents
Mm-hmm.
do. And I don't want to, I'm not crying, I swear to God. I don't want to live in a world like that. I just don't, I don't like the idea of going before my parents. I don't like the idea of parents having to bury their children. I think it's very tragic. I think it's very traumatic.
Especially when it's something that can be prevented. Um, I mean, yes, there's the random chance that I could step outside and a meteor will fall from the sky and flatten me in my front yard on my way to my car. There's a chance I'll go to make a left-hand turn and a bus is going to plow into me and that's going to be lights out. Yes, these things can happen. We're talking about preventable early death, not random. I mean, there's a chance the gas vein underneath my apartment could go kaboom. It's happened. That's not preventable by me. We're talking about actual preventable health related death. And she's correct. Our generation has been predicted or projected to not to die sooner than our parents. And actually what that means is where our parents make it to 60, 70, 80, beyond, um, when they pass away, our generation isn't going to make it that far, is what they're saying. It's not that we're going to die before our parents. It means that the average age at which we die will be lower than the average age at which our parents pass away at, as a group. I'm not saying you're. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. That's what they mean with that statistic. It's not that you're setting your parents up to bury you. Some people are. But on average, it just means that, your parents are going to make it to an older age than you're going to make it when you finally do pass away.
And I want better for my people. I want better for the world, better for women in general, and men too. I want better for the world. And I don't think that HAES is doing what it thinks it's doing. I think they believe they're promoting positivity, but they're basically helping to destabilize different communities. And it's not supposed to be political, but it has just become political, where you're starting to affect people's livelihoods. Keep in mind that people who are overweight or obese are less likely to have high paying jobs. They're more likely to live in low income neighborhoods. They're more likely to be affected by, you know, areas that have high crime rates. And
I'm not disputing this. As far as like the high paying job thing, I know that Hayes likes to say a lot that obese people make less than skinny people. I've yet to find something that backs that up, and I have been digging. I do actually want to know where that's coming from, because to me it sounds like they're just pulling it out their asses. When Alana is saying that obese people on average are affected by poverty and unstable living conditions and food deserts and redlining on average, it's not because they're obese, right? That it's just people who happen to be in those situations tend to also be obese, and it's the obesity is a usually a side effect of those conditions, and it's because of the poverty and the lack of access to good food, to healthy food, or food in general. Because I'm sorry, fast food is not food. It may taste delicious, but it's not food. Going back to the ultra processed stuff I rail about in other videos. So, um, if you are obese, you are not inherently going to be impoverished and living in a crime-ridden neighborhood. That's not what the statistic is telling you. The statistic is telling you that people who are lower income and do live in higher crime areas and do live in areas that are food deserts tend to be overweight and obese, and it's because of those things. Whereas me, it's because I didn't take care of myself. All right? And that's the God's truth. So, and I assume, just kind of getting a gander of Alana, probably it's the same situation with her, but again, I'm just guessing. So, and also, unfortunately, people who are affected by people who are lower income and who live in crime ridden areas tend to also be minorities and tend to lean towards blacks. So now I think they're getting, well, like it's an achievement. I think that statistic is starting to skew more towards people who are of Hispanic and Latino descent, just because there's been a large influx of Hispanic and Latino immigrants over the past years. Um, so that statistic is or that demographic is shifting, but it still holds. Um, Her argument still holds. I just wanted to explain the statistic a little bit better.
there's a slew of problems that come with being overweight or obese. It's not that they are the cause of these problems, but they definitely aid in it. And so the logic, the reason why, my pragmatic mind is heading to the question of, well, if it is correlated, why would I let that aid in whatever issues that I'm having, right? As in, if I get to my goal weight, I will most likely still have PCOS. There's no cure for PCOS. But if my weight makes it worse, if my weight makes it harder for me to conceive a child, and I know I definitely want children, why would I hold on to weight that may help make that a bigger problem? It just doesn't make sense. So to round this video up, HAES is racist. They tell half truths. The voices of HAES are middle class white women who, by the way, feed into every other beauty standard, like getting lip injections, doing their hair, doing their makeup, wearing nice outfits. But for some reason, keeping a moderate body weight is just too damn much for them. And yeah, that's the basic wrap up. Black people are at a higher risk of obesity related diseases than their white and non-black counterparts, and HAES is complicit in the destruction of black communities.
There you go. There you go. I'm not gonna let her close, unfortunately, because I don't want this video to get that long. But I think she made her point, and we didn't even watch the entire video. So I think she very eloquently put her thesis out there. I think her closing is very solid, and I think the points that she made stand up. So it helps that I agree with her. I'm sure people who are in FA and HAES are going to be like, "Rah," but you're wrong. So there you go. I'm going to watch more of her videos, and I think I want to watch the one that she mentions in this because it's older than this, but that's not why I want to watch it. It's just I kind of want to hear why she refuses to identify with body positivity, which is cool. I want to hear about that. Also, she's got a lot of newer videos that have come out as well, and I think I'm going to put her in the rotation just because I think hearing a positive voice about these topics is important. And also I kind of like her, so those are all the reasons I need. So anyway, if you've made it this far in the video, 2 things. Please go watch the original video. Again, it's down in the description. And please go watch it. Watch the whole thing. It's a 30-minute video, but it's a good watch. And also leave emoji of something. Well, since there's nothing funny about it, let's go with something incredibly random. So go ahead and leave a... so since I can't think of anything, since there was nothing like humorous in this one, go ahead and leave the flying money thing, because randomness, that's why. Go ahead and leave that emoji down in the comments section. And yeah, thank you guys for making this. Thank you all for watching this far. Thank you to my subscribers. You guys rock. Thank you to my members. You guys also rock. Thank you to everybody who's going to hit the thumbs up button. And yeah, leave a comment down below. If you haven't, remember it's the flying money thing because randomness. And I will see all of you in the next one. Bye.